Did you know that the home inspection is the most important part of any transaction whenever you're going through and buying a house? It can help you uncover any unforeseeable things. It can help you uncover major issues with the house, whether it be roof, sewer line, HVAC system. I don't care what it is. This is why it's the most important. So let's go ahead and break it on down for you in this video. My name's Kyle Powers. I'm with Haven Real Estate Group at EXP Realty. I am your Manhattan real estate expert, and I'm here to break down the entire home inspection process whenever you are going through and buying your home, whether it be your first home, second, third, fourth, or fifth. Don't care, highly recommend them. I've got a lot of good information in this video, and I want to make sure that you are taken care of and understand the entire process before you get into this one and you're in the trenches. So let's go ahead and jump in. Skipping a home inspection could be the most expensive choice of anything whenever you are going through the buying process when buying a home. The reason being, this home inspection gives you a top to bottom review of the home, okay? I don't care if it's electrical, structural, sewer lines, roofing, HVAC system. The whole reason to have these is to actually go through and dive deep into everything that is potentially wrong with the house. Now, I will tell you that a home inspector is not perfect. They are human. They do not have the ability to look at everything and test it for extreme heat or extreme cold, especially when it's just warm outside. You know what I mean? So you have to understand that they're looking at it at the time of inspection, and they're looking at functioning things that way. They're going to give you a 50 to 70 page document so you understand what everything is that you're getting into at that moment in time. Again, I've seen home inspectors that take 5 hours, and I've seen home inspectors and they do a good job, and I've seen home inspectors that take an hour and a half and they do a better job. So just because you're getting the 5 hour person doesn't necessarily mean the hour and a half person isn't good too. But the thing with it is how thorough are they, right? I think that's the key with it is, are they checking the GFCIs? Are they checking the electrical terminations into the outlets? Are they into the breaker box? Are they looking at, structural cracks? Are they looking at the roof? Is there hail damage? Is there additional inspections that may be needed? You guys, the inspections are so incredibly important because you have the opportunity. This is your moment, right? You go from putting it under contract, which if you watch our last video, you understand what that looks like. Putting it under contract, and you have 14 to 15 days typically. You have the ability to then go and search everything. I just had a client, we're going to close next week. We received the seller's disclosure. We looked at it. There were some discrepancies and things. I said, don't worry about it. Let's just put it in the, let's have it inspected, see where we're at. We had they're like, well, what do you think? Should we do this, this, and this? I'm like, yeah, do the home inspection. That's always number one. That gives us a general idea of what we're looking at. I always recommend doing radon because that's a big thing here in the Kansas area. And then I always recommend doing a sewer line. Pending age of the house, I always recommend doing sewer line because if it's an older home, then it's probably got clay tile outside unless it's been replaced, or cast iron underneath the house. And then if it hasn't been replaced or hasn't been messed with since then, that stuff's been there for 30, 40, 50 years. And I don't know about you, but I'm in my late 30s and my body's starting to break down. So I can only imagine something that's been sitting, got fluids running through it, a constant process, and then roots coming into it. It's going to break down, right? So understanding that process and understanding that you have the opportunity to do that, this is the moment. This is when you have the ability to go in and do that. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen it to where a seller says, no, I'm not doing anything, and then the buyer has a decision to make. Typically, I'm in the side of let's go ahead and fix things that we know, that ask for things that need to be done. So anyway, back to my example. So I've got a buyer right now. We had all that. We did our inspections. We did a whole home. We did a termite. We did a radon. We did roof inspection. We put this home through the gamut. Probably spent close to $1,000. And you may be sitting there thinking, that's a lot of money, which it is. It is. But here's the thing. With that $1,000, we were able to get them a new roof. We were able to get them a new heating and air system. We were able to have that radon system mitigated. We went through and saved that $1,000 that they spent I would tell you that they probably saved $20,000. New roof, new HVAC system, you're looking, and plus a radon mitigation system, you're looking at about $20,000 right there. And that's just 3 inspections, right? When I had my house, same example, I did the same thing. I said, all right, I want to inspect the sewer line. I want to inspect this sewer line, the termites, and I went through everything. Well, we found that my sewer line was 80% blocked. We found that the termites, I had active termites, only place I've still ever seen active termites in a house. We had radon. It just went on and on and on. And that's why we spend that money. That's why we do that work, to ensure that we understand what we're getting. And again, not everything's going to happen to where it all works out that way, but you at least are going into a house with your eyes wide open, right? And you understand that, in 5 years, I'm probably going to have to replace that roof. I still like the house. I still want the house. Okay, that's your decision. And you have that ability to do that, and that's why we do these inspections. So next thing is during your inspection. So what you can expect during that inspection period talks about this. This is your chance to hire those licensed inspectors. Again, you need to have a licensed inspector with the state, the city, whoever it may be, or a licensed contractor, right? So you're not going to just get an electrical inspector. You're going to get an electrician. You're going to get a plumber. You're going to get an HVAC tech. You're going to get a roofer. You're going to get those. But I only recommend doing those specialized inspections after you've done that whole home inspection. Again, I usually compare it to like a contractor, and a whole home inspector is your general contractor, right? They're giving you the general idea. They're going to say, hey, I don't know what it is, but there's something wrong with this electrical. Hey, there's something wrong with there's a leak with this plumbing. Okay, so then we start having those specialized inspections come in. I would tell you that you probably want to show up to those whole home inspections. Don't show up for the entire time. They typically are lasting from an hour and a half to 4 or 5 hours, depending on who you hire. Don't spend that whole day there. Number one, I don't want to spend that whole day with you at that house. I love you. If you're my client, I love you and I appreciate you, but you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to be in that inspector's ear and be like, well, what's that right there? He's going to find it, I promise you. And if he doesn't, you can always have him come back and take a look at it. There's different opportunities that we'll have to be able to do those kinds of things. And again, if you wanted to be like, hey, let's ensure there's a stain on the ceiling. Let's ensure we look at this and investigate this a little bit, because that's going to give you the opportunity to really kind of talk through, and have somebody, a licensed person. And this is where I weigh on these people too, because it's like I walk in, I'm like, okay, I see a stain. I know there's an issue. I'm not licensed with a licensed contractor or anything of the such. I'm going to make sure that my home inspector points that out in an inspection and looks at that. Or I'm going to say, hey, I know that this cast iron is old, and I know it switches to clay tile outside. Point that out in an inspection. We'll do an additional inspection, and we'll make sure that we need to have a sewer line scoped and everything there, or whatever the case may be, right? Windows and siding and right. So it all kind of comes into play there. But typically you're looking about an hour and a half to 4 hours, again, depending on who you hire. I always recommend showing up at the last 30 minutes. You show up the last 30 minutes, allows them to finish their job, do what they need to, and then walk through with them. That maximizes your time, that maximizes my time, and that maximizes their time as well to be able to go on to the next one. But I want to give you that opportunity to sit and talk with the inspectors so that they understand and you understand what that looks like and what you're getting into. I've even had it so far as we had an inspector do recommend a structural. The inspector had inspected the house prior to this time, and he says, Kyle, here are the pictures, like I can pull it up. And he said, you can see that there's some crack movement here, nothing was ever fixed, and there's some additional ones here. Well, we had a structural engineer go out and take a look, and he said, no, I think everything's good to go. You should be okay. And so ultimately we had the whole thing taken care of. We did it all. We covered our bases. We'd make sure that everything was good there, and we continued to move on there. So that gives you the opportunity, and now is the time to ask for everything and anything that you want to have looked at. And I say it all the time that let's ask for it, because you don't know what the seller's willing to do. Maybe the seller's willing to do it all because they want to make sure it's a good house. I had a house one time where I negotiated with the clients and they said, okay, we'll go ahead and we're going to ask you to mitigate for radon, mitigate for mold, because there's a bunch of mold there, replace the sewer line, redo all the drywall, redo all the cabinets, everything. And they said, yeah, we got it. Actually, my inspector was like, oh, did that one cancel? I was like, no. We negotiated in and they fixed it all and we moved on and we bought the place. And so that's the thing though, guys, is that you never know. This is why I love negotiations, because you never know what a seller's going to come with. So let's just ask for it. Worst I can do is say no. Where are we going to be at? Oh, we're going to be in the same spot? Cool. So let's ask for it. Let's see where they're at. And maybe the sellers are more agreeable to do those kinds of things. So, which leads me to my next point, which is how to use that inspection report. So there's a lot of conflicting ways to do this. And the way I recommend utilizing a inspection report is we negotiate up front with the contract. We know the terms, we know the price, we know the closing costs, we know all that stuff. Now we come in and we pull this different variable into it, and we have the ability to now say, okay, we didn't know that the sewer line was 80% blocked. We didn't know that your radon level was at a 77 and it's supposed to be at a 4. Just had that one, by the way. And we didn't know all of these things. So now you've got a new variable. This one still stays in play. But now you have the new information of it needs a new sewer line. It needs radon mitigation. It needs termite. It needs a new roof. It needs new HVAC system. Whatever the deal is, we now know that information. So now we come back to them and we say, hey, we understand what we agreed to up front. We still honor that one. But these are some big numbers, right? You're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 worth of things that need to be done to this house just to make it safe and livable. Because I'm sorry to tell you, but a sewer line that's 80% blocked, less than a month, that sewer line's backing up in your house. If you've got a heat exchanger in an HVAC system that has a hole in it, well, I'm sorry to tell you, your new family that you just moved in there, you're feeding them full of carbon monoxide and you have no idea. You know, and termites and radon and everything else that comes with that. I use the inspection reports as one, fact finding and information. And I use them to also say, hey, these are safety issues, right? These are major issues that need to be addressed. And again, not every seller is going to say, oh my gosh, I had no idea. You're right. I'll fix all of it. Not everybody's going to be that way. Unfortunately, there are some stubborn sellers. I'm probably one of them myself, but it is what it is. And so I think that's the key to it, though, is that you have to understand what you're getting into whenever you're getting it. And then you make that informed decision. And that's why it's way more important to spend that money on an inspection. And I will tell you so many times that I don't care what the house is, you need to have an inspection. I don't care if it's a house that you're like, I'm going to flip it and I'm going to touch every system in it. I've made that mistake. I've come in and said, hey, I'll buy it as is, where is, give me the best deal you can. And I did 0 inspections. I've actually got one right now where we ended up having to flip it because we had to. And we found out the roof was shot. I didn't do inspections. I bought the house, I almost sight unseen, bought the house, and I had to do a new roof. We had to fix the foundation. It had 0 insulation in the attic, which means all that heating and air is just dumping into the attic and just dissipating at that point. So before we even get into the sexy stuff, right? The new cabinets and new paint and new floors and all that stuff, I had to do a new roof, fix the foundation, add insulation. We had to go through and fix holes in the wall, like fix flooring, fix all kinds of stuff before we even realized that we were like, oh my God. But all of those things could have been found and could have been figured out. And we could have either 1, got a better deal on the house, or 2, gotten out of the house and not had any issues with it. And I think that's the big thing that I mean, that's the lesson learned for me, right? Like, you have to do these inspections. You have to do these things because if it's an issue for you, you're going to be an issue for the next person too. And you've got bullets in the gun, right? Now you've done your inspections, you've got bullets in the gun. So having an as-is inspection or doing it all that, and I'll tell you too, on the flip side, on the seller side, like I always feel more comfortable. Like I want you to inspect the house. I want you to understand exactly what you're getting. And you can ask me for the sun, the stars, and the moon, and I maybe only give you the sun. But that's not my, but at that point, you know what you're doing and you're making an informed decision as a buyer. And that right there, I think is the most important thing. So common pitfalls that I see, I have seen it so many times throughout my years that everybody just says, they just go off of the whole home inspector's summary. Now, don't get me wrong. Any inspector that I use, that's the first place that I look and I see what their major concerns are. But their major concerns may not be yours. So you need to read through that entire report. You need to read through everything to understand what it is that you're buying. And if you don't, and I promise you, your realtor is not reading every page. I promise you. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to do that, but I will read through it. I will skim it. I will look at things really quickly to say, okay, yep, I think we need to look at this, 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 and this. And we'll have those conversations. So what I try to do with my clients is I sit down with them and say, okay, I think, give me your list. And then once you give me your list, I'm going to say, okay, I think we need to also ask for these things as well, because these are potentially bigger issues. And it's after that I'm looking at everything. But don't just rely on that inspector summary. Do your own research on the rest of the report. Do the research with the roofers and the additional inspections. I know it's going to cost more money, but I promise you in the long run, speaking from experience, it will save you time, energy, money, and potentially get you out of a deal that you may or may not want to be stuck in. The next thing I'm going to tell you is not doing home inspections on new builds. You guys, I don't care if it's a experienced builder of 50 years or a brand new builder that's never even been heard of. Do your inspection. Do it, because everybody that runs through those homes, it's not the contractor, the name of the GC, it's not them, and maybe yours is a spec home and you're going through that one spec home. Well, they've got 10 others that they're working on too. They're not able to spend time to go through and look at behind the walls and do all that stuff. Neither is a home inspector. But my point is that sub is also doing those 10 other homes and also doing all the additional things. And so is the GC. And so they're looking and saying, yep, we got a wall. Yep, we got a sink. Yep, we got a toilet. We're good to go. Move on. That is how fast they do it. I've sold a couple new builds here recently, and the home inspector goes in and essentially it becomes a punch list. Again, the contractor doesn't care. They want somebody to come back in and they want you to do that work. So don't ever take a home in an as-is condition without doing your inspections. Now, if you do your inspections and you say, okay, this is how I get the deal done, I'll do it as is, but now I know, do that. That's fine, but do your inspections, do your due diligence on new builds, flips, older 100-year-old homes. I don't care what it is, do your inspections. It's very, very important. The next thing I would tell you guys is just not overreacting. All right, so holes in the wall, loose door handles, paint's chipping, and don't overreact, okay? There are so many minor things, and when people look at a house and they get, oh my gosh, it's 60 pages. There's so much wrong with this house. No, it's not. The home inspector, you hired them to take care of the home, right? You hired them to inspect that home. They are going to give you a 60-page document. They are going to find everything wrong with that home, or at least that's the goal, right? And I think that's the big thing that most people, like, for especially new buyers, they don't understand. Like, you're buying a home that's not brand new. You're going to have issues, I promise you. All right, so just take a deep breath, understand, let's talk it through. We'll walk through everything of that one. Just not overreacting is one of the biggest pieces of advice within these home inspections that I could give you, because I had clients too that they were like, well, what if, and what if, and what if, and what if? And I'm just like, guys, stop, let's ask. And if they say no, then we can start playing those games. And those are the clients that we stopped, we asked, and then they were like, yeah, we'll do it all. I was like, see, we're good. let's just keep moving on the road, right? And I think you play that what if game and it gets really scary in your own head. So just kind of understanding that game and not overreacting will be a big one. I know if you've ever gone through the buying process, it can be very overwhelming to have a home inspection, and then you're looking at hundreds of pages of documents of like everything that's wrong with your home. Again, you're hiring these inspectors to find things wrong, right? Whether it be radon and termites and sewer line or whatever it is. The big thing to understand is that this is what I do. This is how I, as a professional real estate agent, I guide you through the entire process. I want to make sure that you understand that getting into your home, you're going to have issues. You're no longer renting if you're renting. You no longer have the ability to call up the landlord and say, hey, my hot water's not working, I need it fixed. This is part of buying a home, right? Part of taking on that responsibility is that there should be things to fix. Honestly, if I wasn't things to fix, I don't know what I would do on the weekends. So I think that's part of it. So if you are going through the process, number one, I wish you would have called me. I could have helped you throughout the whole thing. Just joking. But number two is this: if you are thinking about it or getting into the process of buying or anything else that way, reach out. I want to help. I want to walk you through this process. I want you to understand what it is, what it means to buy a home, and understand that the process is a fun one. Buying a home should be a fun time. Inspections are here to cover your ass. CYA, right? So inspections are here to take care of you and understand and helping you make an informed decision to understand what that is going to look like for you, whether it is getting everything fixed or taking it as is or anything in between. I think this is the most important step without any home buying process. This is the one to be at. So if you have any questions or any concerns or anything along the lines, reach out to me. My personal cell phone number is 785-477-5485. My email is kyle@homesforsalemhk.com. And as always, please put it in the comments. I'd love to hear your questions. Shoot me an email if you have any questions about buying or selling real estate. I'd love to help you out. And then as always, if you do enjoy this content, go and hit that subscribe button. Go and hit that little bell so you get notified of any future content. And please like, comment, share, anything in between. I would love to hear from you guys. And here's the thing, reach out. Okay? If you're starting this journey and you caught me in this one, go watch our other videos. Reach out to me. See what we can do to help you get into a home and into the right home for you and your family, right? Making sure that this is a good decision for you, because unfortunately, buying a home is not the right thing for everybody. And so I need you to understand what that looks like. And I want you to understand, I want to help you with this whole process of buying a home, because it is a fantastic opportunity to build wealth and no longer rent and no longer throw your money into a trash can every single week, because that's all the better you should do. But that's a whole different conversation. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you so much for watching to this point. And if you have any questions or anything else that way, and make sure that you tune in next week as we are going over the appraisal process, which is close to the closing statement. So we are going over the appraisal process next week. And if you have any questions on that, I would love to see you in that video as well. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk soon.